Project management for healthcare managers, week 7, project execution, quality management, HCML 375. During the planning phase, the quality planning portion was to define ways to meet the requirements of the business, the customer, and the sponsor. This includes some steps to be able to break down the requirements into operational definitions, develop objective measurable requirements, along with the targets and tolerance to define success. The quality plan included the measurements to use that are accurate and precise, that they measure the right outcomes using the right tools and using a scale of measure that is applicable to verify whether we got it right. The quality plan may include any test plans and have the frequency to test. Once the quality plan is set during the planning phase, we will use the plan to conduct quality assurance and quality control during the execute, monitor, and control phase. During the monitor and control phase, the quality plan will have assurance and control. Quality assurance is aligned with the monitor functions and is following the quality plan, running the test and recording any results or outcomes. When planning the critical to quality outcomes, we have measurements to determine what the customer wants or how close it matches the objective. The outcomes or results are compared to the goal of the target. There is no action needed if the project is performing as designed. But if the outcome does not meet the customer expectation, quality control is a set of processes to correct or prevent nonconformance. Quality control is identifying the variances that occur, looking for the root causes that are causing the outcomes not to meet the target, and the methods to get back on track. Quality management and risk management can work together. Quality assurance can be part of the early warning for risk management, and the quality control can be the contingency to get back on track. The difference is that risk manages what could go wrong, and quality management is checking to make sure that you're getting the right results. The effect of nonconformance can be seen as adding avoidable costs to the project. These costs can be increases in spending, time to complete, or additional scope. Defects are nonconformance, what the customer doesn't want. Defects can either be a mistake or it can be delivering the wrong things, even without mistakes. Imagine asking for an ice cream sundae, but they use shaving cream instead of whipped cream. This would be a defect because it was made incorrectly. But if you received the perfect sundae and you wanted a milkshake, the sundae would also be a defect. Rework also represents nonconformance. If you realized the sundae had the wrong type of cream and you stopped and fixed it, the customer would get what they wanted, but you would have to spend the time fixing it. This is rework and impacts budget and schedule. Another part of nonconformance is the omission or unmet requirements. They are the features or output that the customer wants that didn't get validated and is missing from the final product. Let's say the customer wanted cherries on their sundae and didn't get them. This could be where the requirements were captured at the beginning and then were not tracked, or there was a plan to monitor and it still missed the mark and additional work would have to be performed to get the customer what they wanted. Any of these types of nonconformance, mistakes and defects, rework to correct mistakes, or not meeting the customer requirements would add to the cost, schedule, and scope. To help identify and analyze the relationship between what the customer wants and what the project delivers, we can use an affinity diagram or a prioritization matrix. The picture on the left is an affinity diagram. This would be used for brainstorming. The customer requirements would be listed in the red boxes at the top, and the blue boxes would represent ideas or contributions that support each specific customer requirement. The affinity diagram is a correlation matrix, much like the A3X. Customer requirements are listed in the column on the left, and the project processes or outputs are in the header row. The intersecting cells would be scored, and any blank rows would be unmet needs, and any blank columns does not add value to the project. The diagram on the right is called a QFD, a quality functional deployment, and is one of the many quality correlation matrices. Some of the concepts that support quality program are prevention over inspection. The use of statistical sampling and knowing when to use tolerance and control. During the planning phase, identifying issues before they come up is part of risk management, and one of the approaches to managing these risks is setting up a way to prevent mistakes or defects from occurring at all. This saves that cost of rework to fix things before it reaches the customer, or when a customer asks to rework a defect which affects customer satisfaction. Prevention over inspection is a project management skill of anticipating and preventing nonconformists from occurring. Another concept in quality is sampling. It may be impossible to sample everything that's delivered to the customer. In some cases, there are just too many. In other cases, testing for quality means that part of the product is used up or destroyed as a part of testing. Sampling is a statistical approach that gives confidence that a testing of a small group can be applied to the population. An example of this was in 1908 when William Gossett figured out how to test the quality of Guinness beer without sampling a lot of beer. William Gossett used a statistical term called degrees of freedom that statistically reduced the number of samples and giving the same confidence in the final result for the beer distributed to the customers. Statistical tests can be used to test attribute characteristics, which are yes or no questions, like is it hot or is it good? Variable testing can be broken up into smaller units, like time or temperature. It makes sense to have half a degree, which would be a variable data, but it doesn't make sense to give an incremental answer to is it hot, like it's half hot. It either is or it isn't, and this would be attribute data. Another concept in statistics is the difference between specification limits and control limits. Specification limits are hard physical limits, and control limits are statistical limits defined mathematically. One of the projects I worked on to set up control limits for timing of insulin shots and meals delivered to hospital patients. The specification limits define when the meal had to be delivered after the insulin shot was given. If the shot was given and the meal arrived too soon, the drugs hadn't taken effect, and if the meal waited too long, the drug effectiveness would be dissipated. These were the specification limits. The staff set targets for shot time and meal time, and defining variation from this target set the control limits. The specification limits set the requirements for the outcome, and the control limits define success for being on target. During quality control, there is a focus on non-conforming results and steps to get back to what the customer wants. Part of the quality process is how to identify defects. Another part is to determine why they happen. Root cause analysis is ways to look at the causes and eliminate them instead of fixing the symptoms. If you focus on the symptoms, you have to fix it every time it happens. But if you focus on root cause, you won't even get the defect. Root cause analysis relies on the concept that there's an infinite number of causes for something to happen. The way to use this is to locate the cause that you have control or influence and focus your effort there. One of the ways to find root cause is a fishbone or Ishikawa diagram, which is a combination of brainstorming and mind mapping to discover the sources of root cause. The defect is defined, and the team works to brainstorm reasons why things could go wrong based on categories, which are found in the bones of the fish. Another simple approach is to ask why 5 times to get to the root cause. The 5 whys approach does not try to list out 5 different causes, but it follows a chain of causality. For example, if someone is late to work, focusing on the lateness is a symptom and will be addressed every day. But when you ask why are you late, and they say they can't drive over the speed limit to get to work, then you ask why they would need to speed to work, and they say they're always leaving the house too late. When asked why they leave the house too late, they say they wake up too late. And when you press on and ask why they don't wake up on time, they say their alarm clock is broken. By fixing the alarm clock, you are correcting the source or the cause. Building in quality has 3 layers of effort to eliminating nonconformance. These are level of effort and attention to good project management. Building in quality to any project starts with identifying nonconformance and fixing them before it gets to the customer, which is a requirement for customer satisfaction. This is corrective actions and the need to have testing to identify the defects before delivery. It also takes risks into account, where events that trigger a risk starting to occur can be adjusted to avoid or mitigate the risk. In corrective action, the defect is caught and corrected by inspection, and the risk is resolved while it's new and can be managed. In each of these, there is an effort like rework to achieve the requirements. A better approach is to plan and execute processes that prevent the defect or risk from occurring. The cost of rework is avoided because a defect does not occur, and we eliminate the extra costs of scope, schedule, and budget. Preventative actions are planned actions to avoid defects. Process improvement is the constant attention to making proactive improvements to a project. Process improvement is the quality approach of continuous attention to the prevention of defects that occurs during the planning and execution instead of in just the planning phase. To review, quality assurance and control of the phases of quality that occur during the monitoring control phase. Quality assurance is following the quality plans, and quality control is taking steps if there's nonconformance. Nonconformance is not achieving the customer requirement through mistakes or defects or by missing the requirement. Extra work to fix nonconformance is rework. Quality tools are used when things go off track to identify how to meet customer needs and to use statistics and develop confidence in the outcome. Root cause is used to discover why defects occur and give us the ability to eliminate defects before they occur. Building quality into project management means to identify and correct defects before they occur, prevent mistakes instead of fixing them, and to build in continuous improvement into the project.